has recalled for a special sitting over the third motion of impeachment against Meru Governor Kilifi Mwangaza. Once again, my name is John Jacob Kioria, stepping in for Tomboy. Now, President William Ruto has told of critics of a newly formed broad-based government that has seen the inclusion of members from the opposition wing, the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, join government. Speaking in Kiambu, that is Keumbu in Kisii County, while on his second tour of a greater Gusii region, the president insisted that there comes a time when the interests of the country supersede any other interests. The president underscored that working towards the common good of the country is a great patriotic call compared to satisfying political interests.
For the second day running, the president continued with his tour of both Kisii and Meru counties with development goodies that included a cancer treatment center in Nyaribari Chache.
Tuko na bilioni 3 ya kujenga hii facility kutoka marafiki zetu wa Saudia, benki ya Badea na serikali ya Kenya.
Rai kwa hii cancer center hapa Kisii. This is a milestone in our health interventions, not just in this region, but in the country.
A level 4 hospital in Keroka, and an affordable housing project in Ekambo. The president, accompanied by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, saying his action was in the realization of his plan that propelled his administration to power.
Unajua kuna watu wananiambia ninaenda huko nje kufanya nini? Ati sijui naenda kumangamanga, sijui kufanya utalii. Sasa wacha mimi niwatangazie. Safari yangu ya China ndio hii pesa 3.5 billion ya watu wa Nyamira. Hapa tunaanzisha hiyo barabara kesho.
Rais amesema hapa Kisii lazima maendeleo ikue hapa. Si amefanya vizuri?
The president stating that this is not the time for Kenyans to be divided and allowing individual interest to supersede the public good.
Ndio sababu juzi mimi nimetengeneza serikali, nimeunda baraza la mawaziri ya kuunganisha Wakenya wote, kwa sababu imefika wakati ambapo umoja wa nchi, maendeleo ya nchi ni muhimu.
Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua urging those opposed to the newly formed broad-based government to shelve their political interests and work towards the common good of the populace.
I want to ask those leaders who still have doubts, I want to tell them there is a moment in the history of a nation when we must come together for the greater good, for the greater transformation of our nation called Kenya. And this is such a moment.
The head of state urging locals to support a part of the finance bill measures once reintroduced to unlock 130 billion shillings to upgrade roads in the country.
Lakini sasa unajua niko na shida kubwa. Kwa sababu sasa nilikuwa nimepanga hiyo barabara. Nilikuwa nimeweka pesa 130 billion kwa budget yetu. Sasa watu wengine wakatoka hapo na kisirani finance bill wakaangusha. Sasa hiyo watu, mimi nataka tukubaliane. Mimi lazima nirudie hiyo kazi ama namna gani?
The president further urged leaders from the region to work towards delivering on their pledges and stop supremacy battles. President William Ruto is expected to conclude his 3-day visit to the Gusii region tomorrow, as he is expected to launch various key projects before he heads over to the Rift Valley region. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Abdiaziz. In a bit, Give Us and Minor will be telling us what Raila said about the broad-based government. But meanwhile, the impeachment motion against Meru Governor Kilifi Mwangaza is set to be canvassed tomorrow in a special sitting by the Senate. The Senate, who are currently on a short recess, will convene to either set up a committee to probe the allegations against her and table their findings, or opt to probe the allegations against her through plenary. This will be the third time she will be appearing before the Senate to defend herself against the impeachment charges since she assumed office 24 months ago. For the second time this year, the Senate finds itself once more immersed in the murky waters of the political matrix in Meru. On Thursday, 40 out of 60 members of the Meru County Assembly approved a motion tabled by Deputy Majority Leader Zipporah Kenya to impeach Governor Kawira Mwangaza over accusations of abuse of office and gross violation of the Constitution. Despite invalidating 2 impeachment motions that landed on the floor of the Senate, senators will tomorrow convene for yet another special session to hear the new charges against Mwangaza. If the Senate opts to set up an 11-member ad hoc committee to hear the charges against her, the committee will have 10 days to probe and report back to Senate with a report recommending the upholding or the rejection of the impeachment. A plenary hearing will last for 2 days and senators will deliver their verdict thereafter. This comes amidst calls for the president to invoke relevant articles of the Constitution and dissolve the county owing to the unending wrangles between the county executive and the county legislature. Still in the hallowed chambers, legislators have summoned newly sworn Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi over the delay in disbursement of funds allocated to critical agencies under the Ministry of Trade, Industrialization and Cooperatives. The National Assembly Trade Committee wants the CS to shed light why Special Economic Zones, Export Processing Zone and Can Invest were being underfunded despite Parliament allocating a budget in the critical trade agencies. The MPs also queried why the National Executive has gradually been reducing the budget for Hustler Fund.
Because we know everything takes time because the procedures have to be followed. What are we going to do in this whole financial year when these particular agencies cannot be able to do anything? Are we leaving them to die? Are we leaving them to close the shops? Or what is the intention of Treasury in terms of bailing out this important sector? In this financial year, out of 5 billion, due to austerity measures, their allocation was reduced from 5 billion and it was reduced to 3 billion Kenya shillings. Thereafter, still they also faced further cuts from 3 billion. Another 1 billion was cut, and those seriously affected areas are those particular areas, because once you mention special economic zone, you are mentioning industrialization. When you mention EPZDA, you are mentioning industrialization. Those are key. Then the other sector is agriculture, where now coffee comes in. And those are the major areas of effect where this failure of disbursement touched on.
A petition seeking to decriminalize suicide triggered heated debate in the National Assembly this afternoon as legislators differed over the contents of the petition. The legislators who opposed decriminalizing of suicide attempts argued it would result in an influx of suicide attempts, while those in support of the opinion said it was a mental health issue and not a criminal issue. The petition by Lukoye Atwoli, a professor of psychiatry, is seeking to repeal Section 226 of a constitution that criminalizes attempted suicide. The Committee on Public Petitions now has 60 days to probe the petition before tabling a report in the House for debate.
Order, honorable members.
So what they really require is to be given treatment. So to prosecute such people in courts, Honorable Speaker, is not justifiable. And I want to agree with the petitioners that this House needs to make that consideration and decriminalize the section of the penal code that allows it.
We must ensure that every Kenyan looks at life from, why do we oppose abortion then? Why do we say we are pro-life as a country? But here we're saying that we want to decriminalize a situation where someone takes away. Honorable Speaker, as a Christian and as a person that believes that life is sacred and must be preserved, I oppose this petition, And I want to ask this House never to pass a law like that.
When you want to come and imprison that person, I think it is not doable. Let us be a more understanding society and decriminalize attempted suicide, and as indeed the suicide itself has been decriminalized.
Indeed, whoever intentionally kills himself, then certainly he will be punished in the hellfire. Mr. Speaker, if God himself decided to punish those who commit suicide, as human beings, we have no power not to punish them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe anybody who is taking his own soul should be punished, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I oppose the petition.
Let us come up with solutions to help them so that they stay here longer with us. And like we all know, we wait for the time when the Lord decides. So let us address the concerns of mental health without bringing in religion or saying that this House or that petition would be sanctioning somebody taking away their life. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
ODM leader Raila Odinga says a purge on the principal secretaries in various state departments is in the offing. The opposition leader, who spoke in a burial ceremony of father to former IEBC Commissioner Irene Masit in Elgeyo Marakwet, revealed that together with President William Ruto, they agreed to reconfigure the government for efficiency as demanded by Gen Z protesters.
Days after President William Ruto dismissed and reconstituted the cabinet following the Gen Z protest, a purge on the principal secretaries is looming, according to the opposition leader Raila Odinga.
Kile tulisema, mimi niliongea na Ruto nikamwambia shida iko hapo. Hawa watu yako ambao wameweka pale hawajafanya kazi vile wananchi wanataka.
Addressing mourners in the burial ceremony of Chirchir Masit, the father to former IBC Commissioner Irene Masit in KO South Elgeyo Marakwet County, the ODM leader revealed that it was among the agreements they struck with President William Ruto to restore public confidence and improve government efficiency.
Akasikia mimi hii cabinet nitawapeleka nyumbani. Ikasema hata hao makatibu ambao wako pale wako chafu yote, usafishi wote, ili tukuwe na mwanzo mpya.
The opposition leader further disclosing it was retired President Uhuru Kenyatta who convinced him to reach a truce with President William Ruto to stabilize the country.
Sasa ile nchi inachomeka, Uhuru ndiye alinipiga mimi simu. Uhuru akaniambia mimi, tafuta Bwana Ruto, ongea na yeye. Kenya ikichomeka, hatutakuwa na nchi nyingine. Mpaka hii tuzime hii moto, watu waketi chini waendelee waliwane. William ndiye akanitafuta.
However, Raila maintained there was no any coalition agreement with the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Magazeti hawa wanaandika sijui nini Raila na Ruto handshake. Hakuna handshake. Hakuna handshake.
But speaking separately in Kathiani, Machakos County, a section of opposition leaders among the members of parliament accused the Kenya Kwanza government of weakening the opposition.
Kazi yetu ni kuongea kwa niaba ya Wakenya. Wale watoto mnaita Gen Z ni watoto wa nchi gani? Wazazi wao ni wa nchi gani? Babu zao ni wa nchi gani? Wa Gen Z wakiteta, Kenya imefanya nini? Kenya imeteta.
Haiwezekani kuwa kazi yetu sisi viongozi ni kupata pesa ya mishahara, magari makubwa, alafu tukienda bunge tunasahau yule ambaye alituchagua ako kule mashinani. Lazima tupiganie watu wetu na tuhakikishe ya kwamba serikali sio ya rais akiwa peke yake.
Give us Minor Prime Edition.
Interestingly, PSs have been sitting on edge since the previous cabinet was dismissed. That news by Raila Odinga surely cannot be the best news they've been expecting this week. Let's move this forward to Health Matters. Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has declared Mpox a public health emergency in Africa. The agency says it is alarmed by the speed at which a new strain of Mpox has been spreading. Since the beginning of the year, more than 13,700 cases and 450 deaths have been recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kenya has reported one case of Mpox, with the Director General of Health, Dr. Patrick Amoth, saying the Ministry of Health is ramping up the preparedness and response. The virus, which causes lesions on the body, has also spread to Burundi, Rwanda, and the Central African Republic. Here, police in Homa Bay County have launched investigations into the murder of a 68-year-old woman by unknown individuals in Nyagitha village. The late Wilkista Odanga was found by a relative who had gone to check on her only to find her dead. Odanga, who is deaf and dumb, had marks on her face indicating a struggle before meeting her untimely death.
Nyagitha village is in sorrow following the murder of a 68-year-old woman by unknown assailants. Wilkista Odanga lifeless body was discovered by a relative that went to check on her. Investigators believe the assailants accessed the deceased home through this scar that was made on the door. Her inability to speak now being attributed to the danger she was exposed to, as relative also believe she was sexually abused.
Kufika napata kama wamekata mlango kidogo alafu amenyongwa. Amefura huku tena wamemkwaruza na vidole. Kama ni vijana wabadilishe tabia. Maana hakuna kitu chochote kimechukuliwa kwa hiyo nyumba.
Authorities camped around the homestead looking for clues that may lead to the arrest and prosecution of the criminals, even as they urge locals to volunteer any information that may lead to the apprehension of the criminals. This even as police in Kilifi constituency Murang'a County came on the spot after being captured on surveillance cameras breaking into the home of former member of County Assembly in Murang'a County Joseph Mashiri before allegedly abducting him. The 11 p.m. incident has left his family traumatized as the police broke in and then proceeded to switch off the lights. Prior to this, the son David Mashiri had allegedly been abducted by people believed to be police officers at his Thugoto home, Kiambu County.
Na wakaniambia sisi ni polisi. Nikawaambia polisi gani inavuja milango? Wakaniambia wewe tutakupiga risasi. Toka hapa. Sasa wakakuja wengine wanne. Wale walikuwa watatu. Sasa nikaona hawa siwezani na hawa. Acha mimi niende.
They broke into the house, albeit notwithstanding that they are small kids as young as 2 years, 3 years, traumatizing them and traumatizing the entire family.
According to their lawyer Ndengwa Jiru, it is alleged that the two were abducted after the court granted them bail in an ongoing fraud case pitting David Mashiri against a local bank in a 1.5 billion shilling fraud case. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
And we apologize for that statement on Wilkista Odanga the late, saying deaf and dumb indeed. She has speaking and hearing disabilities. We apologize for that bit. Now, political leaders in Marsabit County are demanding an immediate reaction from security officers operating in the county in response to a Monday night attack that left 8 people dead. That is in El Dimitun area along Forole Tarbi Road. The leadership comprising of Marsabit Governor Mohammed, Senator Mohammed Chute and Woman Representative Naomi Wako also condemned the abduction of 2 Korean missionaries working in the county. Addressing the media in Nairobi, the leaders linked the attacks to the neighboring country. A vehicle that was transporting food items from Nairobi to Dukana was torched during the attack. The leaders lamented that the border area has increasingly turned volatile and called for the deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces.
Was attacked last night at a place called El Dimtu near Forole, and 8 passengers were slaughtered, so to speak, and burnt beyond recognition.
Na kwa wale ambao wamefanya hiyo mambo ni jambo la kuhuzunisha. Ningeomba serikali yetu ifanye investigation ya kutosha ili tujue hawa wahalifu walitoka wapi na ni kwa nini wamefanya vile wameendelea kufanya.
We are concerned because our people have continuously been displaced, killed, and their properties have been wantonly destroyed.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to take a fast breather on Prime Edition, but don't go too far. We're coming back with more news, including business and sports.
Holiday Bonanza iko kwa star 570 hash pekee na ni option 4. Inamaanisha mwezi mzima wa Agosti ni tushinde. Dial star 570 hash, chagua option number 4 na ujipatie ushindi wako wa bidhaa au chapa, kwa sababu tumejaza. Kila wiki tunatangaza mshindi wa 250,000 Kenyan shillings na zaidi na zawadi chungu mzima. Alafu guess what? Tumerudisha Probox ndani, na isitoshe Mazda Flare pia iko ndani. Ni star 570 hash pekee, option ni 4. Holiday Bonanza, tushinde!
Ni aje mam, umeupdate token meter yetu?
Ai, kuupdate token meter yetu? Hiyo ni nini?
Acha nikuchanue mam. Leta simu yako. So, kuna hii text tulipata from Kenya Power. Kwa hiyo text kuna code 2. Weka code ya kwanza ku reset token meter. Alafu weka code ya pili ku update token meter.
Haya, ni hivyo tu. Wacha niulize wa mama wangu wa chama kama wameupdate token meter zao, wajipange.
Welcome back. You're watching the Prime Edition, and of course, we continue to monitor the situation at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Our winners, or the team really that was participating in the Paris Olympics, is returning to the country tonight, and in town to receive them is the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, that is Kipchumba Murkomen. And the idea here really is to welcome those medals, including 4 of them being gold. But in the meantime, a man has been charged for stealing 1.3 million shillings from an ATM lobby machine in Ongata Rongai, Kajiado County. The court heard the suspect, Sigilai Kiplagat, jointly with others, now before court, stole the money from a bank account number belonging to Anthony Kame Mushane. This as the Mkopa phone, I'll take that again, this as an Mkopa phone seller broke down after she was charged for allegedly stealing mobile phones belonging to a private firm. Ruth Wamboi has the details of the stories from courts.
Appearing before trial magistrate Rose Ndombe, Sigilai Kiplagat denied stealing 1.3 million shillings from Cooperative Bank of Kenya. The court ordered him to pay $500,000 shillings to secure his release.
Shilingi milioni moja tafuta msimamizi sawa na kiwango hicho au pesa taslimu shilingi 500,000 na msimamizi mmoja.
The trial of the case is set for September 6th. And a young man has been charged for intending to deceive by falsifying a diploma certificate from Mount Kenya University.
He's not a flight risk, as he's been complying and honoring the police summons. Further, Your Honor, no cost has been incurred by the police in bringing the accused to court.
The suspect, Gulaid Abdullahi, denied 3 counts, among them forgery and uttering a false document. Meanwhile, there was drama in court Tuesday when a sales lady of Mkopa phones could not hold back her tears after she was slapped with a cash bail of 150,000 shillings by a magistrate's court.
An alternative of a cash bail of 150 and 1 contact person each.
The suspect, Caroline Ongosi, who had been arraigned together with Amen Anyanga, narrated to the court how, as a mobile phone salesperson, she found herself on the wrong side of the law as she sold phones.
Akaniambia nilete Samsung S24 Ultra. Mimi nikatafuta simu, nika-register, then customer akaniambia ID, ana fiscal ID. Kanielezea Karo, kama unaweza tafuta ID, nitafutia. Nikamwambia mimi sina ID ya kutafutia. Then hiyo harakati nikaongea na beshte yangu. Pigia beshte yangu akaniambia bwanake anaweza fanya nini, anaweza simamia huyu customer kuchukua simu. So mimi nikaregister simu, then nikamletea police officer hapo kwa bridge hapo chini. Mimi agent, mimi sikujua mteja kwenye nia flash simu.
Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Now, in a concerted effort to address the rising cases of sexual and gender-based violence, Nairobi County Government, along with various stakeholders, held a quarterly technical working group meeting to strategize on improving prevention, response and support systems for survivors. Details on this and other stories in our county news roundup.
Also conduct awareness.
Speaking after the meeting, head of Gender-Based Violence Unit in the Ministry of Health, Roslyn Mukabana, highlighted the need for construction of more rescue centers after 6,640 cases of sexual gender-based violence were recorded in Nairobi as of 2023, with the majority of victims being children under the age of 18.
What we are looking at is the government to reinforce the budget allocations for matters sexual and gender-based violence, because the funds that we have are very limited, and we rely purposely to CSOs and donors to be able to ensure that this works.
Kirinyaga County has partnered with the Ministry of Health to sensitize the public on healthy diet after the county was mentioned to be leading in lifestyle diseases, especially obesity due to high consumption of starch.
Tunakuza mchele, tunakula starch sana. Kwa hivyo sukari inaanza wale watu ambao tulikuwa tunatibu magonjwa ya sukari imeenda juu. Halafu kuko na magonjwa yale ingine inakuja ya blood pressure.
Meanwhile, Kipsigis elders have called on the newly appointed cabinet secretaries to adopt servant leadership in their respective ministries by listening and addressing issues affecting the public in the grassroots.
Form a system whereby the problems or grievances of the communities should be listened into, because those are the ones which will escalate into communities or groups going to demonstrations.
Elsewhere, Boda riders in Tsunza area, Kwale County, are calling on local leaders to help them acquire valid documents so they can operate their business smoothly.
Kama kutapatikana nafasi nyingine, basi tufanyie mafunzo, hata kama kutuletea mashule huku mashinani, tusome tupate lessons. Hiyo naona itakuwa ni kazi mzuri. Kama ni mambo ya safety gears, tumepata bado driving lessons peke yake.
Kenya Institute of Supplies Management has rolled out a competency-based learning structure targeting experienced personnel within the supply management who do not have requisite academic certificates. The institute's chairperson, John Karani, says the professional body is working closely with other agencies to address rampant corruption.
There are so many of our professionals who are doing procurement work out of experience. They don't have the requisite academic qualification to make sure that they are bona fide members.
We have a portal called the PPAP, which we recently relaunched it. We have enhanced it, and we've made it even much easier for the procurement entity to be able to interact with it. Let's make use of that system, because it is the only way that you can bring out transparency to the public.
Nataka pia educators.
Finally, Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti has disclosed that the youth addicted to alcoholism, drugs and substance abuse will form the first cohort of recruits in the proposed Machakos Youth Service Program.
Nataka kuambia vijana, sisi tutaanzisha rehabilitation center, na tukianzisha kama vile niliwaahidi, pia mkimaliza, once you're cleaned up, sisi tutawapeleka training na mpate kazi.
The governor was speaking during a public participation forum on the proposed amendments to the Machakos Youth Empowerment Act 2022 at Kisukioni DCC's office grounds in Matungulu Sub-County. Kasichana Masha, Prime Edition.
Map reading is a crucial skill in the military as it enables soldiers to navigate unknown terrain, plan routes, and execute missions effectively. Warrant Officer 1 retired Joseph Bett served the Kenya Army for over 20 years, having joined as an education instructor specializing in map reading. Bentro Njue had a sit-down with him in his home in Ainamoi, Kericho County, for this week's edition of Military Tales.
We travel to Anaimoi in Kericho County. We are here to visit one veteran soldier who joined the army 2 years after graduating as a secondary school teacher.
Naitwa Joseph Kiblangadbet. Nilisaliwa kijiji hii ambacho kinaitwa Ainamoi upande wa Kericho in the year 1960 December, na nikasomea primary school ambayo iko karibu hapa inaitwa Kapsikirio Primary School. Nikatoka hapo nikaenda Kipchimchim Secondary School ambayo iko nyuma mpaka form 4. Nikatoka hapo nikaenda Kericho Teachers College kama mwalimu, and then nikafundisha miaka miwili 1984 mpaka 1986 mwezi wa 8. Kuna application ilikuwa advertisement ambayo ilikuwa imepeanwa, ilikuwa inatakikana walimu ambao wanaenda kufundisha kama education instructors kwa jeshi. So nikaandika barua, nikaitwa, nikaenda nikakimbia, nikaenda nikapimwa na nikaandikwa kama mwanajeshi.
Hiyo ni mwaka gani?
That was in 1986 mwezi wa 8. So mwezi wa 8 kuanzia tarehe 4 mpaka January tarehe 30 1987 nikakuwa trained RTS Recruit Training School na nikamaliza, nikakuwa posted Thika 12 Engineering Battalion, na nikakaa huko kama askari kwa muda wa kama private kwa muda wa miezi 3, na kwa sababu mwalimu akiandikwa rangi yake ya kwanza ni senior sergeant. So mwezi wa 5 1987 nikakuwa promoted to the rank of senior sergeant, na nikakaa na hiyo rank for a period of 7 years. 7 years, that was in 1992. Nikakuwa promoted kwenda rank ya warrant officer 2. Warrant officer 2 nilikaa naye again for a period of 9 years. Nikakuwa promoted kwa warrant officer 1 na nikakaa na hiyo rank mpaka 2009 mwezi wa 9 nikatoka huko. In fact mwezi wa 8 tarehe 13 nikastaafu nikakuja nyumbani.
Having joined the army after working as a teacher, Officer Bet admits the transition was initially challenging, but he adapted.
Hiyo training ilikuwa kali kidogo. Jua ya kwamba nilikuwa nimefundisha kama mwalimu miaka miwili and I was earning a salary. So kwenda huko kurudishwa nyuma. Kukimbizwa, sababu iko kukimbizwa kweli kweli. Hiyo ilikuwa tabu kidogo. And by that time again, I had left my family wakiwa, we were young anyway. So nilikuwa na saa zingine nafikiria juu ya wao, wako namna gani sasa. So ilikuwa ngumu kidogo. Lakini nili-adjust because nilikuwa nimeweka roho kwamba nahitaji hii kazi.
As an education instructor in the army, what exactly did his duties entail?
Kazi ya education instructor ni kufundisha askari map reading. So anytime a soldier goes out for practical work, lazima ajue map kabisa practically. So kazi yangu ilikuwa ni kufundisha askari mambo ya map reading. Well, there were some times tulikuwa tunaweza pata askari ambao hawakuwa wameenda shule. So tulikuwa tunawasaidia wajue kuandika.
His love for education saw him study other courses in the army, which he says made him a better soldier and leader.
Nilifanya course ya warrant officers command course, warrant officers and senior NCOs command course. Nilifanya drill and duties, basic and advanced. Na nikafanya skill terms. Skill terms unafundishwa namna ya kutumia punduki ama silaha aina fulani fulani, maybe punduki ndogo, punduki kubwa. Kwa upande wa drill and duties unafundishwa namna ya kuwa drill technician, yani ujue parade mzuri ukitumia bunduki, ukitumia maybe pestic, sword, drill zote ambazo ziko kwa jeshi ambazo zinaonekana wakati askari wanaenda kwa parade, maybe wakati wa sherehe fulani fulani. So lazima mtu awe sawa sawa kwa drill. Drill and duties tena inakupatia askari uwe very smart, unakuwa time conscious, unakuwa disciplined and so on and so forth. Kwa upande wa warrant officers and senior NCOs command course ni kujua namna ya kusimamia askari wadogo. So lazima uwe na knowledge ya kusimamia askari, and in fact hata watu tu, not even askari, even outside. Tukiwa nje saa hii, most soldiers wanaweza kuhakikisha ya kwamba wamesimamia kumanage vitu.
His most memorable operation?
Kuna kitu inaitwa match and shoot. Match and shoot ni ngumu sana. Tukiwa area ya Ngong, area ya Kajiado, tulitembea kweli kweli mpaka makucha ya miguu ikatoka. Siwezi sahau hiyo.
He notes the Kenya Defence Forces have advanced in tactics and improved their promotion structure that has boosted soldiers' morale and lives.
Mambo ya silaha imebadilika. Tulikuwa tunatumia chitiri. Nowadays I know iko ingine ambayo wanatumia ambaye ni lighter than the chitiri. Another thing ambayo nimeona ni upande wa promotion. Jeshi imepanuka because the rank ambayo ilikuwa inachukuliwa na askari wa chini, wengi walikuwa wanaenda mpaka warrant officer 1, maybe RSM, CSM, company sergeant major. Nafasi ilikuwa kidogo, to the extent that wengi wa askari walitoka kwa kasi kabla hawajafika mbali. At least askari anaweza enda hata mpaka sergeant, mpaka senior sergeant. So akikuja nyumbani ana retire na pension ambayo ni afadhali. Yes.
He advises his comrades in the forces to remain true to country and mission.
Askari wa sasa, let them be serious kwa kazi yao. Let them be respectful to their seniors. So wajaribu hata nao wapike moyo konde, let them be na ujasiri ile iko. Na respect is the most important thing.
The former tutor notes the constant training in the Kenya Defence Forces not only makes them as fit as a fiddle, but also instills perseverance.
Kustahimili perseverance. Because in most cases, kazi ya askari sio rahisi. So unakuta ya kwamba lazima uwe na ujasiri, lazima uwe na perseverance, hata kama ni ngumu unahakikisha ya kwamba umevumilia. So uvumilivu ndio kitu ambacho kiko kabisa.
A soldier's service is at times hectic, and as a family man, he credits his family for their support during service.
My wife has been very supportive. Yes, bibi yangu ni mwalimu, almost retiring next year. Na tuko na watoto watano. Watoto watano, walimu watatu. Mkubwa ni mwalimu msichana, ya pili ni mwalimu msichana. Kuna kijana ambaye ni assistant county commissioner, sai ako Nairobi. Alafu kuna kijana ambaye alisoma IT, ako Kericho Law Courts. Na mwisho ni kijana mdogo mwalimu tena. Wote ni wa degree. Labda watoto ni malisha kidogo wa mkugu, hawawezi kimbia. Hiyo ni watoto yake.
A former educationist, when not busy, he still loves reading, football, and community service.
Mimi ni member ya committee ya secondary school ambayo iko karibu. Mimi tena ni msaidizi wa pastor kanisani. Yes. Alafu hatukosi kusaidiana kwa kijiji when there are problems kama ugonjwa.
Officer Bed is also the Kericho Defense Forces All Comrades Association, the FOCA chairman, has a message for Kenyans.
Wa Kenya, ile kitu nawaambia, let Kenyans support our armed forces. Because unajua mtu ya army anashinda nje most of the time. Na hawana time ya kuchumuika na wao nyumbani. But you know, that moral support, when you see him, congratulate him. Wakuwe makini kabisa na wapeane information kwa askari for the sake of the security of our country.
Now retired, he has diligently embraced farming in his farm, and after the sit down, we take a short tour of his workstation. For Military Tales, I'm Bentro Enjoy.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
What a run! What a finish! It's the last athletics gold! It couldn't be this dramatic, could it? Bronze in the 5,000, bronze in the 10,000. She said she was going to do the Zatopek. Nobody believed it was possible. And she's pulling away from the world record holder. This is a performance that will never be forgotten. Sifan Hassan, in her own inimitable style, does something incredible. 2 bronze medals on the track, but it's all gold on the road. Brilliant from Hassan. The world record holder is stunned in silver, and Helena Beery follows up 2 silvers on the track with a bronze in the marathon. Lokadi is 4th.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
Holiday Bonanza iko kwa star 570 hash pekee na ni option 4. Inamaanisha mwezi mzima wa August ni tushinde. Dial star 570 hash, chagua option number 4 na ujipatie ushindi wako wa bidhaa au chapa, kwa sababu tumejaza. Kila wiki tunatangaza mshindi wa 250,000 Kenyan shillings na zaidi na zawadi chungu mzima. Alafu guess what? Tumerudisha Probox ndani, na isitoshe Mazda Flare pia iko ndani. Ni star 570 hash pekee, option ni 4. Holiday Bonanza, tushinde!
A very good evening to you. Thank you for keeping it Prime Edition. Time for business. My name is Betty Kiptum. Kenya has entered into a strategic partnership with Chinese government to provide funding to increase research and innovation on production of various climate-smart crop varieties in efforts to boost food security. Here is Frederick Mwoki with the details.
Kenya, like many other African countries, is grappling with severe impact of climate change, including erratic rainfall patterns, prolonged droughts, and devastating floods. These extreme weather conditions have significantly affected food production of crops such as maize and wheat, which are staple food for millions of Kenyans. The development of resilient crop varieties is therefore essential to ensure consistent food supply and to reduce vulnerability of smallholder farmers.
Been able to come up with varieties that are tolerant and they're resistant, and farmers now have access to these varieties because they've been released formally by KEFIS. And so with that, farmers having access to these tolerant disease and pest tolerant varieties, it makes them have hope.
Speaking during the Africa-China Summit Science Forum in Nairobi, International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center Director General Bram Agovat said Kenya can accelerate the development of maize and wheat varieties by attracting more funding with agricultural partners.
Doing here is saying this is what we can do. This is what we can help solving. So many million of farmers, so many million of consumers will be better off. Now we have the technical capacity, we have the partnership. If we show that, I am convinced that we can attract the resources from Kenya, from private sector, from foundation, international investors, including China, including other countries.
Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
And farmers in Kilifi County are set to benefit from a 1 billion shillings funding deal signed between the county and Farm Africa. Under the deal, Farm Africa will advance grants to small-scale farmers to improve their yields and adopt sustainable agricultural practices. Kilifi County Governor Gideon Mung'aro says the initiative will further help create jobs and wealth.
According to the Blue Economy Sector Plan 2018-2022, the sector is one of the emerging economic frontiers that is expected to contribute to the country's economic growth. The document says the share of blue economy to the GDP is 2.5%, contributing an estimated 180 billion shillings to the economy annually, though the sector has the potential to raise this to 500 billion shillings each year. To tap into the opportunities that lie in this sector, various players are lining up with various innovations.
Malengo yetu ni kusaidia vijana kwa mama vijana ambao tunaita single mothers, ikiwa ndio target. Kwa hiyo nataka kusema kwamba tutafanya kazi na Farm Africa kuhakikisha kwamba tunasukuma huu mradi ili ufaidishe watu wetu.
Through the Farm Africa initiatives, small-scale farmers will be equipped with sustainable farming tips, soft loans and fishing gears to enhance the trade. The deal is looking to create 150,000 new jobs across 6 counties in Kenya.
Mradi huu unatekelezwa utaweza kufanywa katika kaunti 5, Kilifi ikiwa mojawapo, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Siaya na Kakamega County, ambapo tunafanya hiyo kazi vile vile.
The 5-year program dubbed Youth in Sustainable Aquaculture is a program financially disadvantaged youth through market linkages. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Kenya is set to host another global conference next month in Mombasa. Delegates from at least 22 countries will converge for the Technology Information Confederation Africa Conference to discuss strengthening access to digital infrastructure, harnessing emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data analytics, robotics and virtual reality, as well as address cybersecurity and data protection. ICT and marketing professionals, policymakers, innovators and the academia have confirmed participation in the conference.
Had quite
a range of investment efforts. We have a number of ventures that are discernible within our ICT spectrum, and I believe there are more and more investments that are in the way. What becomes crucial is for the country to have a good policy framework that nurtures the environment for more and more investment. Because ICT is very promising, but remember, we say that ICT is just a tool. You have to appropriate it in a particular way for it to yield results that are intended.
I cannot ever overemphasize the significance of technology in marketing at the moment. It's about probably between 50 to 70% of marketing. Digital marketing has become part and parcel of marketing. So for us to meet together annually and have these discussions together is could not have been more timely.
And conservationists have petitioned Tanzania to help address the issue of trophy hunting of elephants along the border with Kenya. They argue a move by Tanzanian authorities to issue hunting permits for super tuskers in the greater Amboseli, West Kilimanjaro elephant population puts a risk on the mammal survival, threatens wildlife conservation efforts, and will affect tourism earnings.
The greater Amboseli West Kilimanjaro elephant population is estimated at 2,000, whose range spans between Kenya and Tanzania. While Kenya banned trophy hunting in 1977, the activity is still legal in Tanzania, subject to getting relevant licenses. Conservationists fear that the latest issuance of trophy hunting permits by the Tanzanian government threatens to erode gains gained over the last 3 decades after a moratorium on trophy hunting of this transboundary elephant population was agreed between the two nations.
These elephants are unique. They are some of the largest tusked elephants in the world. They are few, they are a unique genetic population, and they range across the international border.
We only have 10 super tusker elephants left in the Amboseli population. We cannot be the generation that allows these super tuskers to die. We must be the generation that comes together to say we have to protect them, that comes together and say we have to save them.
The petition emphasizes the significant ecological and economic value of the Amboseli West Kilimanjaro elephant population, a unique genetic reservoir that transcends national borders.
I wish all the stakeholders, as into the conservation of animals and probably elephant is concerned, should join together and come up with a strategic on how to protect these creatures, because we may end up losing these creatures.
Experts warn that trophy hunting could wipe out super tuskers within the next 3 years.
Kwa sababu ni mnyama na ajui anaenda kukula wapi, wasiowe ndovu. Kwa sababu poli inagwana na hii ya Kenya na wakioa watafanya makosa.
Only 10 elephants with tusks weighing between 45 kilograms each remain in the Amboseli ecosystem, which has the highest density of these mammals.
Wanapo cross kwenda Tanzania, hapo ndo wanaenda kuuliwa. So you can imagine the pain we feel as elephant trust. Juu sasa imagine una protect kitu, but kuna wengine wana encourage mahali. Unangeta.
Are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Well, as we are still reeling from the hangover of the Olympics, Team Kenya is coming back to Kenya with 11 medals, 4 of them gold. I want now to hand it over to Wahome, who is standing by there on your screen to give us the latest in sports.
Thank you very much, Betty. And at the JKIA, the reception party for Beatrice Chebet and Faith Kipyegon is on, and so back. If there's a report, is going to be giving us that detail tomorrow. But meanwhile, Team Kenya got a grand reception in Miramas, where they had camped for 2 weeks in preparation for the just-ended 2024 Paris Olympic Games. The training base in Miramas, southern France, helped the athletes acclimatize and also access quality training facilities ahead of the Games.
Betty Cherwon led Team Kenya returning gratitude to the city that hosted them as they prepared for the Olympic Games.
Thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge that we have come here because we've worked very well with Miramas, and we thought it's very important to come and say thank you. The athletes said they would not go back to Kenya without coming back to Miramas, where it all started, to say thank you very much.
The training base in Miramas helped Kenya in getting in tune with the summer heat that was experienced in Paris during the Games, and also showed up their skill levels through the access of quality training facilities.
Athletes exhibited what they know best. They upped the game in terms of employing that raw talent against technology, and we still managed to get harvest these medals. For me, it's incredible. It's really incredible.
Once again, to register our big thank you to you all, the people of Miramas and the larger southern part of France, namely Marseille, which is represented also here with Mr. Lieberman, and until today. And I believe that even after this, the end of Paris 2024 Olympic Games, we are going to continue together going forward.
Gold winners Emmanuel Wanyonyi and Faith Kipyegon shared the excitement at medaling for Team Kenya and thanked the Miramas city authorities for according Kenyan athletes the training facilities.
Na kufurahia fans na kushukuru Miramas kwa kutusupport as Team Kenya, kupea opportunity sprinters wakuje wa explore more na kupata hiyo tactics kidogo, facilities wapate yenye imekuwa improved. So tumefurahia.
Napiga picha mpaka tumeshangaa. Tunasema kumbe kukua celebrate ni kazi. Unapiga picha mpaka unatoa jasho.
The Miramas community thronged the venue to celebrate the achievement of Team Kenya and marveled at Kenya's dominance of athletics, not just at the Games, but in the world as well.
Came from Marseille just to meet them. I really like the vibe here. The Kenyan people are so nice, and that makes me want to visit Kenya one time. Why not?
No, for them, and just incredible and amazing for the Kenyan people to have all these great athletes. So thank you for Team Kenya for hosting, for visiting us. Thank you. Asante sana.
Because we looked at them at the TV, and we are so happy to see them in real.
Kenya wound up 17th overall with a total of 11 medals, 4 gold, 2 silver and 5 bronze, and was ranked second on the athletics medal standings and first in Africa. Days of intense competition that saw Team Kenya stand tall amongst the greats of the world. Just like the iconic tower, the Eiffel Tower behind me, it was time for the team to present the medal harvest that they did collect during the competition in Miramas, where it all began, having held a 2-week training base in the